Hey guys, today we're going to be taking a look at my sim racing setup, which is built on the Track Racer TR80 Mark V using a host of other components from different manufacturers. So let's have a little walkthrough and give you a few ideas if you want to build something like this for yourself. So as I say, we are using the Track Racer TR80 Mark V. Personally, I like the Track Racer units just because of how many accessories they offer. So we have got the Track Racer chair. We've got the mouse sort of mat area. We've got the keyboard tray. We've got the shifter mount with the handbrake as well as, and then we've also got their screen mount, which bolts straight on and is super simple to set up. And then of course we've got the sort of framework for your wheelbase, which sometimes comes with different plates depending on which wheelbase you've got. Another great perk of the Track Racer ones is the pedal plates. So they're relatively universal as far as I'm aware. There's every different sort of mounting option there that you can see. And then if we sort of scoot down to the lower section, you can see that there's plenty of adjustments. You can raise this section up, you can drop them back down. I've got it set just sort of how I like it personally. The pedals have got a bit of tilt to them, but nothing too crazy. So what I'll do is I'll sort of try and cover each individual bit of equipment just so people can get an idea, as I say, if this is something you want to look to put together yourselves. So starting with the monitor, we've got the Samsung Odyssey G9, which as you can see is ridiculously curved. It's got a 1000R curvature, which as far as I'm aware is supposed to be quite similar to the sort of curvature of your eye. So as you sit in the rig, it nearly fills your peripheral vision. Triple monitor setups are better, there's no question about it. But for how I've got my sort of setup laid out, this personally works best for me because it's just plug and play. There's no setting up of bezels, there's no trying to align the monitors. And obviously with having two screens on my main PC, the one inside the case there as well, I didn't really want any more screens running from a single PC. If you have a dedicated PC for your sim setup, then I would recommend triples is the way to go, or even VR. But for myself, like I say, this G9 is phenomenal, great monitor, and highly recommended. If you take a look on your local marketplace or sort of for sale sites such as eBay, you can pick these up really cheap secondhand, even sort of half the price of the retail. I would really sort of go down that route because buying brand new, these are extremely expensive. Both our handbrake and gear shifter are from Husqvarna. These are absolutely great quality. There's actually more plate in this metal plate that the handbrake mounts to than any of the handbrake mechanism itself. You can adjust that small rubber there, loosen out the spring, etc. to sort of give it the feel that you need. And you can also change the layout of the handbrake, so you can lay this piece flat so it goes that way. I don't really see many setups where that would be applicable. Most people are going to want it like sort of as I've got it here for drift or for rally. And then we've got the sequential shifter, which is just your push-pull. You can change this knob on the top for like a round one, or some people like to put an extension on, but where I've got my screen mounted, this one works quite well for me. So then moving on across to our steering wheel, I'm just going to swap to the wide angle lens here just to give you guys a bit of a better view. So we've got the Cube Control Sport, which has various different encoders and switches, buttons, toggle switches, and your sort of carbon paddles, carbon plate in the center, and a nice suede with your 12 o'clock. Great quality wheel. Again, same as the Hissink parts. The Cube Control's a little bit pricey, but for the same reason, you just get amazing build quality, so I do highly recommend them. So this just bolts onto our wheelbase using a quick release system, so we can always pull that pin and swap to one of our other wheels. So I have got a custom 3D printed wheel up on the shelf there that was built by a friend of mine, and that is more of a display piece. I don't tend to use that wheel. And then I have just a basic circular wheel, which I use for drift and for rally. So just up next to our steering wheel, we have our Stream Deck, which are absolutely great for any sim racer or just any PC hobbyist, in my opinion. They're such a versatile piece of equipment that probably go a little bit underrated. You can sit and program just about anything into them, and they're super handy to have. So a good one here for sim racing. So I've got my games tab, so I can open my wheelbase program, my sim control for my seat and my crew chief. I haven't programmed these just yet, but if we look at the trucking one, so I can set, so my ignition, my headlights, indicators, I've got my music controls there, and then I can instantly load the games as well as. And then just for a quick example, audio. So if I'm sat in my chair and I want to swap to my headset from my PC speakers, I can do that just through this, rather than having to jump up onto the settings. So if I'm already in game and I've forgotten to do that, that can be done here. You can get different mounts for these, but on this Track Racer, the actual mount that it comes with, if you unfold it and wedge it in amongst the profile, you can see there it just drops in, just in a way that it's exactly how it would need to be. You can get 3D printed ones, but in my opinion, you don't need to. This works perfectly. Little bit of play in it, but you're not going to be punching these buttons too hard. It's just where it needs to be, and for me that works really well. And then just down next to us we've got our keyboard and mouse. Nothing crazy here, just Logitech ones. These are just cheap and cheerful. We've got some custom keycaps here just because this was a little bit worn out. Just a mouse mat on top here. This doesn't come with one, just grab one off Amazon. Just anything cheap will do. Not going to be used a great deal, but just makes your life a lot easier when you're setting up your game and getting into a race, kind of necessary. You can get a wireless setup, but me personally preferred the wired. Some people like to have a wireless one that they just drop down on the floor when it's not in use, but I had the room and the sort of areas to place these, so it made sense to go wired in my opinion. So the next parts of this video may be a little bit on the wobbly side. Just shooting this on an iPhone, it's a little bit tricky to get the right angles and focus. So Track Racer give us great options for cable management on their framework. They come with these small clips which just push in, twist, you wrap a tie wrap through and secure your cables. My cable management isn't the best, but it's certainly not the worst that I've seen. I've got a lot of accessories on my rig. So just following that copper cable round, if we look under our seat here, this is our Dynaudio bass shaker. So there's one mounted under the seat, and then there's another one secured under the pedal plate. They both shoot round to the quite poorly named knob sound amplifier. So this acts as a sound card on our PC. So as I say, these copper wires just come up, that's just basic speaker cable. They go into there, back down into a USB hub, which is mounted under the pedal plate, which I'll try and sort of catch an angle of for you in a second. And then that's what gives us our haptic feedback. So similar to what you've got on a Xbox controller, if we go off track, if ABS kicks in, someone crashes into us, we get vibrations through the seat and the pedal plate, which gives a real immersive feel. I personally don't like being on a rig that doesn't have these. It's really hard to feel what the car's doing, especially when you're getting into the higher end racing. As I say, I am just a hobbyist. I don't do this competitively, but when I'm on my friends' rigs that don't have this, it's really hard to get a feel for the car. For our pedals, we are using the Hussingfeld Sprints. So we've got all three, so your clutch, brake and accelerator. But the clutch here is definitely optional. If you want to save yourself a little bit of money, just buy your brake and accelerator, which come as a kit of two, and then maybe add your clutch in later as you see fit. These do pair up with the sequential shifter and the paddles on our steering wheel for those times where you do want to use your clutch. But most modern sort of race cars or games you're going to be playing, you probably find you're just going to use your paddle shifters. So as I say, clutch is definitely optional. These pedals come great out of the box. They work really, really well. And I personally don't feel like they need a great deal of adjustments. But if you take a look at the back of the pedals, there's springs and rubbers, etc. that you can adjust sort of to your own liking. There's a lot of things in sim racing that are personal preference, how I have things set up. Some other people will hate, and vice versa. You've really got to sort of fine tune and tweak things to your own likings. Moving up from our pedals, we find our Simucube Sport wheelbase. This is a direct drive system which provides us with 17 Newton meters of torque. Your torque settings can be adjusted in the Simucube app or within your game settings. So for example, I like to change mine on my steering wheel just using my encoders, so I can adjust the torque as per what car I'm driving or the track I'm on, for example. So our steering wheel talks wirelessly to our wheelbase. using this small antenna on the back, which connects through to the steering wheel, allowing us to use our buttons and paddles, etc. Simucube do offer 3 different variants of this wheelbase, being the Sport, which we have here, the Pro and the Ultimate. As you climb higher through the list of the wheelbases, you get a higher torque output. So your Sport wheelbase offers you 17 Newton meters of torque, the Pro is 25 and the Ultimate is 32. From my research, a real race car will give out around 25 Newton meters of torque. So our Sport wheelbase isn't capable of giving that. But from my experience playing casually, it does give enough to enjoy the game and to sort of get a feel of what the car is doing. I haven't actually tried the other 2, so I can't comment on that. But a lot of people do say that for a hobbyist, the Sport is more than enough, especially when you consider that the Ultimate wheelbase is almost 3 times the cost of the Sport, which is already going to set you back over £1,000 for just the wheelbase, no wheel included. So you've got to justify, is it worth spending that extra money when you've got the cost of every other component in your rig? If you intend on spending £20,000 on a full motion rig, by all means get the Ultimate wheelbase. But if you have a budget, as I did, for around £5,000 to £5,500 for the rig, then this wheelbase was perfect for sort of cost to performance. That should be just about everything covered from my sim racing setup. Hopefully it's given you guys the insights and the knowledge that you were looking for to build your own sim racing setup. If you have any questions, just drop me a comment and I'll be sure to try and help. However, I would highly recommend jumping on YouTube, taking a look at product unboxings and reviews, etc. That's how I chose a lot of my equipment. Again, it's highly based on your budget. If you are new to sim racing, take a look at Boosted Media. I'll be sure to drop his channel link in the description. He covers just about every different product there is in the industry, so that will give you the knowledge you need on top of this video. Like I say, any questions, just let me know. Thank you very much for watching. For those who have made it this far into the video, we're going to now climb on into the rig and jump onto Race Room. We're in a GT3 car on the Nürburgring on a open track lobby. Normally when I'm on my rig, I would game with my headphones on, but I decided to leave it on my desktop speakers just to give you guys a bit of background audio.
Its exit is clear. Sector 1 is now green. Sector 3 is now yellow. I think P6 has gone off. Yellow flag in Sector 1. White flag. Green flag Sector 1. Sector 1 is yellow. Sector 3 is green. in Sector 1. Yellow flag, Sector 3. Incident in Sector 1. Sector 1 is yellow. Sector 1 is green. Okay, Chris, 10 minutes to go. That's 10 minutes left. Sector 1 is yellow. Sector 1 is clear. Yellow flag in Sector 1. Sector 1 is green. Yellow flag, Sector 1. Green flag in Sector 1. Green flag, Sector 3. Sector 1, yellow flag. Green flag, Sector 1. Incident in Sector 1, yellow flag. Green flag in Sector 1. Yellow flag in Sector 1. Yellow flag, Sector 3. We think that Montenegro has gone up in turn 4. Sector 1 is clear.